Okay, I'm gonna make a video speaking a bit about. I think this kind of phrase has become popularized recently. Kind of living in the moment, being present, yeah, enjoying the moment, remaining here now instead of being stuck in the past and in the future, and all of this kind of stuff. It's become popularized. So I can't say that word. It's popularized. Yeah. Recently, I think. Well, there's many kind of gurus who speak about that, and Eckhart Tolle was one of the main ones who kind of made that popular. Um, and it is valid. It's very valid, especially to the majority of the population who are always stuck in the past, reminiscing in the past, trying to go back to how it was back then in the glory days, or worrying about the future, what could go wrong tomorrow. For those people, that is good advice. However, it's also a little bit misleading because you even see videos where people say, like, watch this video and I'm going to teach you how to be here now, how to remain present. They're speaking as if it's possible to be in any other moment but the present. See, even those people who are stuck reminiscing about the past and they're attached to the past and how it was, and they always want to go back to how it was, or the people always worrying about the future and trying to make the future go this way and not that way, all of that is happening in the present. Even if they're not aware of what's going around in the present moment, like let's say they're sitting in a room and there's other people and there's things going on, even if they're not really aware of what's kind of going on in their current circumstances in the present moment and they're lost daydreaming, that's still happening in the present moment. See, so it's not like you can you don't have to try to be present. It's impossible to not be present. You're always here now. Because the here now is the eternal moment. So even the title of this video, or kind of how I wrote it in my notes, was that the past is dead. The future is unborn. Life is live. See, why do we like watching sports and all these things live? Literally live means it's happening here now, like right now, directly. And in a sense, that's a perfect analogy or way to describe life, because life is always live. There's never a time where life is not live. It's literally always happening here and now. There's no other time where life could be happening other than now. That's why, in a sense, the future and the past don't exist. They really don't. It seems like you're here now, in a sense, like it feels like you're within this moment of time. See, the way people usually think of time, I think is because they watch the clock, and the way the clock is, and it's divided into hours, like days, like months, or you can keep on zooming out and zooming in. But millennia, and then centuries and decades and years, months, weeks, days, hours, minutes, seconds, milliseconds, microseconds, or whatever the fuck. See, this already goes to show you that it's just a fractal. All of these are just units, and it's just a fractal. You can count like one in the sense is in the middle, and then 1, 10, 100, 1,000, that's all goes to the right. And then when you're going into the decimal, 0.1, 0.001, 0.0001, and so on and so forth, that's kind of going into the other side. But really, this just already shows that scale. Because there's no biggest and there's no smallest. Do you understand? The scale was just infinite, and you can zoom in and out forever. And that's how fractals occur. If you go on YouTube, you type in Mandelbrot fractals, it just zooms in forever. And that's in a sense kind of what consciousness is doing. It's just the 0 point, and it's like a simulation treadmill, and it makes it seem like you're experiencing a new day and so on, and that, like, you're progressing through time, but you're actually in the same moment forever, because this is the eternal moment. You're within eternity right now. But the way people see it, they're so conditioned at looking at time as if it's blocks of like units, like it occurs in units, almost as if it's like frames of time. They see like a second almost as a frame, and a minute, and it seems like you're in this particular time. Like right now is 1:40, so it seems like I'm here at 1:40 on the 28th of August. That's where it genuinely seems like it's this time. And then tomorrow, it will be the 29th, which will be a different time. And it won't be here. Like, it won't be here now. Like, that'll be then. Like, tomorrow. It seems like it'll be a different time. But actually, tomorrow, once you get to tomorrow, it's today again. Do you see? You never actually get to tomorrow, and you've never experienced the past. Because as you was experiencing the past, it was here present. So you can't actually experience the past or the present. You can't experience the past or the future because they don't actually exist. They're just concepts. They're just concepts. When you're really saying the past, you're speaking about like the past occurred in the present moment. It was live. Do you understand? And it may seem like, oh yes, it was live back then, but it no longer is live. But even though it seems to you as a human being that you're no longer in that situation, even that situation, its causality is bleeding over into this moment. And then even the future, like, essentially, you could kind of think of it, the present is in the middle, the future's on the right, the past is on the left, and eternity is all three of those. Like, it's like that's like the three dimension. It encapsulates the past, the future, and the present. That's eternity. It's like an unending present moment. And that's why you can never escape eternity, because it's unending. Like, any moment you're in is here. And anywhere you are, any moment you're in is now, and anywhere you are is here. That's why there's no difference between here and there, or now and then. It seems different when you take this moment to be relative. As I said, that's like the conditioning of seeing time as these kind of blocks and units, but that's actually a psychological overlay. See, time is made up. It's just a symbolic measurement that humans made up. Time is not some inherent like quality of the universe. There's no such thing as time actually in the universe. We just use time as a measurement. We kind of use the cycles of the earth and the sun and the moon and stuff to kind of give us some kind of reference. We're just using one reference and another reference to kind of measure and give us a sense of where we are now in comparison to that other reference or that other reference, in a sense. But there's not really such a thing as time. There's not really such a thing as seconds. So it's not like you're in this second now. You're right now at 1:44, and then a minute later I'm at 1:45. No, actually, I'm in the same moment. Like, nothing changed. It was the same eternal moment. It's just that time, in a sense, is just a measurement of change. And as I said in my past video, which I just recorded, which I'll probably upload before this, since the absolute truth is absolutely true always, which is in a sense eternity, it's just truth always being true unconditionally. But since the truth is true, and that's all you can say about the truth, like the only thing that you can say about the absolute truth is that it's true. So there's not anything else in particular. There's no any other particular attributes about the truth other than being true. So it's true, it's absolutely true, and it's always true, but it's not true in any particular way. And that's what leads to impermanence and why things are always changing. See, this reality is nothingness. It's actually nothing. Nothing ever was created, nothing arose. But the reason why it seems like there's something, the reason why it seems like there's time and progression is because of impermanence. So that's why there's always new forms appearing. And as a form appears, it also has to disappear for the next form to appear. And see, that appears to us as like something changing. To us, it seems like something's changing. And in a sense, time is just a measurement of change. So, yes, things within this relative plane change. Like now it's 1:46 because conditions have changed. You see, the earth like is in a different position in reference to the sun or whatever. See, so that's changed. So now we'll say time has passed. But actually, no, it was still in the same eternal moment. Even when the earth was here in reference to the sun, it was the same here now moment. And when it's here, even though that's different, it's still the same here now moment. So it only seems like time's progressing when you divide it into these imaginary units, such as seconds or milliseconds, which don't really exist. So yeah, like it's a very simple concept, but hopefully this can kind of bring you to the consciousness where you realize that this moment is unending and you're in the same moment that you've always been, and you're in the same place that you've always been, because life is always here now. It's not like you have to try to be present or you have to try to be here now, or you have to try to be conscious of the live moment. Because no, life is always live. It's always here now. Even if you're imagining something tomorrow or you're remembering something from the past, you're remembering it now. You're experiencing that memory here now. You're experiencing that imagination of the future here now. And actually, you can kind of realize this on the intellectual level, but when you realize this on the energetic level, when it sinks deeper into your system, like you really understand it, then you'll actually, it's not like you won't be able to plan or remember or anything, but you actually will, your system will naturally stop always trying to get back to the past and reminiscing about back then or trying to control the future. Because even anxiety and depression is usually where people are always comparing themselves to the best moments, to the peaks of their past. See, when you think about your past, yes, sometimes it feels a very bad situation. You can look at the bad side, but usually people tend to, I don't know why, but the brain, it tends to remember only the good parts of the past, and you kind of forget all the bad stuff. So it always seems like the past was better than it is now, but that's actually false. The way it is now is exactly how it was back then. The conditions was different, but it was exactly the same. It was just as good and it was just as bad. It's just that it's kind of like social media, like when you're comparing your life to the highlights of everyone else, because they're only uploading and posting their best moments. So it's the same with when you kind of measure your current life to your past, because you're only remembering your best moments in the past. So you feel like, oh, it was so good back then, but actually it wasn't better than now. And depression kind of comes about when you're always trying to go back to the past, or you're comparing about the past, because you can't go back to the past. It's impossible. So just keep on reminiscing and trying to go back to the past when it's impossible, when it's gone, because everything is impermanent and everything changes. So it's impossible to go back in time. It's not even like there is time and you can't go back. It's like, see, there's no time. That's why time travel is impossible. There's no time. It's just an eternal moment, but things are always changing. That's why it seems like there's time. That's why, see, because there's no such thing as a timeline. If there was really a time and there was such a thing as a timeline, then eventually, if our technology got high enough, we would be able to go back to the timeline. But there's actually not even such a thing as a timeline. So, yeah, depression kind of comes about when you're always comparing about back then. Oh, when I was with that girl and everything was perfect, or when I was in this country and so on and so forth. And then that kind of brings about depression, because this moment that you're currently in isn't as much of a highlight, as much of a peak as that. And then anxiety is more about always worrying about what could go wrong in the future. See, so it's like when you're too over projected to the right side or too projected to the left side, that can cause anxiety or depression. And once you really realize, wait, there is no such thing as the future. Like, I'm in the present moment now, and I'm never going to be out of this moment. Like, when I get to that moment tomorrow or 10 years from now, it's going to be me there. I'll actually be there. Here now. In that moment, it will be here now again. Exactly like this moment. So, and when you realize you can't go back to the past because the past doesn't exist, and you're always in this eternal here now moment. Again, as I said, it's not that you have to try to be, because there's not any other way that it could be. So even though there's not any other way that it could be, when you are under the impression or assumption that it could be another way, or that you can go into the future, progress into the future, which is a different time from now, which is a different timeline, then you're still going to be hooked on this, imagining or projecting how the future is going to be. You see, and when you're still hung up on this idea that you, even if you know that you can't time travel back, but when you're still hung up on this idea that you can make it as good as how it was back then you're still going to be kind of reminiscing and comparing to back then, and that's going to cause this anxiety or depression. But once you fully understand that this moment is eternal, you're in the exact same place that you've always been. Life is always live. It's always happening here now, and there's no any other time that it could be occurring. Then you stop kind of energetically projecting forwards or backwards, and you just naturally collapse back into the center, which is the only thing that's here. And that's how you really are present always. Even though you're always present, but you can be present, but then still projecting and imagining other ways that it could be, so to speak. But once you just realize, no, this moment is absolute. This moment, the way that this moment is, it could have never been any other way. That's another thing that I think causes a lot of people, where they cause themselves a lot of suffering, is where they think, they start regretting. I don't know, maybe there was one little thing here or there that I regret, but really, I'm not saying this just to sound nice. I really don't regret anything, because from my perception, I'm aware that there was literally no other way that it could have been. And if it was supposed to go another way, then it would have went that way. See, when people start thinking, I made this mistake back then, and if I did it right, then I would have been here. And see, you're still assuming that you could have chose something different back then. You're still assuming that it was supposed to go another way, but there's no other way that it was supposed to be. Reality is exactly the way it's supposed to be. That's why it is this way. Otherwise, it would, if it was supposed to be another way, it would be that way. See, it's kind of it's you have to see it from an absolute sense. Just the very fact that reality is this way means that this is exactly how it was supposed to be. You see? Because there's infinite potential ways that it could have been. So why is it this way? It's because this way is the most true way right now. When you take all of that probability into consideration, this is what collapsed. This is the truth. This is the most true thing right now. Otherwise, it wouldn't be the case. The truth is what is the case. So once you realize that whatever happens in the future was in a sense, always going to happen. What happened in the past, like, there was no way that that wasn't going to happen. And what's happening right now, where you are right now, is exactly where you're supposed to be. Then you stop having anxiety or depression or worrying about this or that or trying to be present. Like, you don't have to try to be present. Like, where else can you be? Like, life is alive. It's happening here now, live, always live. So yeah, this one was a shorter video, but I hope you guys kind of understand that one. Let me know what you guys think.